Cheers, everybody. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Art of Hip Hop. For those of you that have not been here yet, welcome. Thank you for being with us. My name is Alan Kett. The Art of Hip Hop is a brand new exhibition, a brand new building here in Wynwood that just opened up about a month ago, a little over a month ago. And it is dedicated to hip hop culture and the makers and the breakers and everybody else that's associated with this amazing global culture that we're all a part of and that we all love. And so today's event is a talk dedicated to breaking. And so the reason why we put this together is because we've noticed that in the past year, there's been a lot of emphasis on the 50 years of hip hop, and there hasn't been a lot of emphasis on the entirety of hip hop. It's been a lot of celebration of the rappers, a little bit about the DJs, but it's really been eclipsed by the music side of it, right? The sound side of it. And so we decided to do something a little bit different. So the Art of Hip Hop in its entirety is a flip on that and looking to celebrate the photographers, the painters, the designers, all these other people that make up the hip hop community that some of us might know, or maybe we don't know them, but we know the work that they've contributed. And so that's what this place is. That's what the Art of Hip Hop is, and that's the point of it, is to sort of celebrate hip hop in its entirety. And so today's event is part of the Museum of Graffiti's sort of long-standing desire to spread knowledge and to bring us together as a community and to bring members of our community out here to speak so that we can share our stories and our histories. This is supported by many other organizations in our community, and I want to shout them out. First of all is FIU, Public Humanities Lab. They've been a sponsor of ours and really into supporting the work that we're doing and helping us with grant writing. And so thank you to them for doing that. And tonight's event is also sponsored by our friends over at Modelo, who always got our back. And lastly, today is also sponsored by Kangol, who realized that they have such a special place in hip hop history because they made such good hats, right? Such good lids that they might as well participate and be celebrated and put some money up to make it happen. So big up to Kangol for recognizing what you should know, that you're down and should give back a little bit. So thank you to them. And so my name is Alan Kett. I'm usually the one that's always talking, so today is not going to be my time to talk, just to ask questions. I'm the co-founder of the Museum of Graffiti and the Art of Hip Hop. And so we've assembled a really incredible group of people in the building, because the audience is as distinguished as the panel. I can't front. You know, if you guys don't know each other, you should all know each other, because it's like this is a community thing here. And so at my far right is Doze Green. We're here because Doze, give it up for Doze Green. AKA Devious Doze. No. From Manhattan, no more? Cleaned up your act? No more Devious? No. He retired that one. So Doze, we've had the pleasure of having him here in Miami to paint this incredible mural across the street. So when you exit the building, you'll see it right across the street. It's very, very special. We'll talk about it tonight. To his left, we have Louiedeology, right? Writer, dancer, DJ, man of many talents. Thank you for being here. And to my immediate right is Chillski, aka Secret FC, artist, dancer, extraordinary gentleman, gracious guy, Miami OG. So thank you for being here, Chillski. And so today we want to talk about, in particular, breaking. All right, but we're going to talk about art. You guys, these are triple threats or quadruple. I don't know how many threats these guys are, but these are Renaissance men up here that do all these different things, right? You guys dance, you spray, right? You DJ, you guys rap. I don't know what else you guys do, right? You guys probably act. But we're going to talk about dancing today. And so I want to start with Doze. When did you first, or when and how rather, and where did you first discover this dance form? Like when, do you remember that?
Ooh, man. All right. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming through, y'all. It's good to see you. New faces, new family, Miami family, and some really old faces that warms my heart to see a lot of people from the past who were there in the golden years are here today. And we have 3 generations here, basically. And I think that's fresh, dope, and lit because we have 3 generations that are covering all the span of this culture and the lifeblood of this culture. So I just want to thank everybody for being there. And most of y'all are a part of the hip hop community, so it's great to communicate with you. Thank you. Now, for the first question, I first started getting interested in b-boying. It wasn't called b-boying then. It was more or less a culmination of dances, like growing up in the 60s. It was James Brown, Joe Tex, a lot of these soul groups, Temptations, Manhattans, Dramatics. We had doo-wop still there. And there was influences like Ray Barreto, Tiro Puente, Mango Santa Maria. So in those days, we used to do house parties. And that was like in the barrio, everybody's throwing a house party. You're like going to your cousins down the block or the lay down, eating pasteles with the lay down the block. And then, you were enriched with so much culture, so much flavor in the barrio. So it was like a natural thing to dance. And it was like we grew up with Soul Train. We grew up, just with dance parties every day, like in block parties. So the influence was like seeing cats doing James Brown's moves, turning up, pop locking, and the lockers type stuff. So we had that influence that really got me into the dance. The first time I saw b-boying, I went to near Reed Avenue up in the Bronx. My cousins lived up there. They were Jamaican, in the Jamaican area of, yes, I have Jamaican family. And they and my Aunt Ruby, she used to have stacks of records, like from incredible bongo breaks and all that stuff. So I was immersed in that, and I used to see my cousins going down on the sidewalk, like with a little. Back then, kids would bring out a record player, like a close and play, and they would plug it in, to like a lamppost. There was block parties, so I was seeing kids doing like these corkscrews, like splits, like James Brown corkscrews, and then little like swipes. So I was like, yo, I gotta do this. Because I was always flipping off fences and stuff. So that's what got me into the athleticism of it, the whole athletics of it. Now, it wasn't called b-boying then. It was just the boy-oing, the corkscrew. We had names for it, like the swipe. And a lot of those came from kung fu movies. That's another big element of hip-hop is like, and b-boying, it was that. So that was my first introduction to it. Now, what happened after that was like, at the same time, that's why I brought up Mango Santa Maria and the Latin aspect of it. The Latin hustle was big. And there was a lot of like salseros, like a lot of salsa dancers that had moves from mambo moves. So we see the viejitos doing like crazy footwork, like doing shuffles. And we're like, yo, we incorporated that shuffle with the rock. That's how the rock was born. The top rocking was really just a bunch of different moves that we stole from our uncles, our grandparents, and we just had to try to look really suave. The whole thing with like you had to look macho, like you make, what is it? The bullfighter. Matador. And so it was like really macho, and the girls were like, oh, he's smooth, So you had to have that finesse. Now, that was my experience in Manhattan. Up in the Bronx, my cousins, they were on the floor. They were scraping themselves up and stuff like that. But what I learned from the Bronx, I brought back to Manhattan. And that's when I met Ken Swift And of course, Frosty Freeze, rest in peace, who was like down with Rock City crew. And they were like the premier rockers in Manhattan. And from Amsterdam projects all the way to Douglas projects, even to Smith, they had it down. And so I learned a lot from Frosty. I learned a lot from my cousins, and we just integrated it. But we made it ours because we mixed the top rocking with the floor rocking. That's what I could say. Manhattan B-boys had an advantage to a lot of it.
And so what years are we talking about?
Well, the first time I started seeing b-boying, or what we called b-boying, was like 73, 72, 73, and I started doing it around 76. You know, I was doing graffiti more than that at the time. So that's the thing. Like when you were like, before it was called hip hop, we were just doing what came natural. It was just like all the cats were, all your friends were bombing, either experiment. Well, nobody was DJing until 1977. We all know that after the blackout. That's when everybody stole the equipment. But everybody's trying to mix, and everybody's just feeling out what category they would fit in. We didn't even have categories. Just like, yo, I excel at this. It was like, this was our school, because we didn't have the funding in the public school arena, the funding for music, for dance, for any of this stuff. You know, at the time, Ford was holding back funds to New York City. Mayor Beam was a failure. It was just a catastrophe. So we took it upon ourselves to make the fun happen, do the parties, and like we were writing on everything. Everybody was a writer. Everybody was dancing. So in essence, we just kind of like what we excelled at, we focused on. Yeah.
From what I remember, and just from what I know, it's that in New York City at that moment in time, just had this stuff. It just had this feeling. It had this energy. It had a lot of negativity, right? Lack of funding, lack of resources, crime, but it also had this great cultural mix of all these people from all these different islands, from all these different places, and putting them all together. It was an incredible mix of culture. It was an incredible mix of partying, and great mix of music. And if you grew up as a child or as a teenager at that time, like you mentioned, you learned, you soaked it all up. Graffiti came, you soaked it up. Dance came, you couldn't not dance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like riding a bike. You had to learn how to dance.
Do you remember, we used to have something called casitas.
That's a El Barrio thing.
Yeah, it was like a Boricua thing. You know, they make little, excuse me. They had like gardens. In the summer, they would take empty lots and they would build little casitas, little houses, where the community would get together and make arroz con pollo, arroz con candule, ropa vieja, whatever. Just everybody had like, whatever you had, you threw in, and those were block parties. We also had a lot of social clubs.
Yeah,
that's where your tío and your papa go, and they play pool and do other crazy shit at night. It usually has a red light, and it's like social club, and you couldn't go in, but you'd be outside, and you'd be hearing the jams. You hear the jams. Like the first time I heard Just Begun was in a social club. It was a gang clubhouse, and it was I think it's me and Ken Swift and. With Young City Boys, Blue Eyes Stevie, and we were just like, we wanted to play pool. And there were just gangsters in there, just like, and we're like 11, 12 years old. Like, we want to play pool. They're like, get out of here, shorty, you know. Well, we snuck in, and then on the jukebox, Jimmy Caston, we're like, what is this? And they were like rocking. You know, the gangsters were like around the pool table, like, I was like, what? Yo, that's a moment. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to paint a picture for y'all to understand. Like, that's what it was. It was raw. It was super raw, like you said, and very cohesive in the culture.
Yeah, and you saying that, I'm looking at the photos to your right, and it captures that spirit. So some of those photos that you'll see in here, especially that group right there from Henry, speaks to that time. It is during that era. It's a little bit later, early 80s, some late 70s. Yeah. But you see it. You see the energy, the fun, the dance, and the spirit of teenagers in New York. So I want to jump over to Louie. So Louie, what about for you? When did you first encounter this? How was it for you, if you remember?
Well, I first started breaking in '97. So when I was, I went to like a ice skating rink, and I saw some circle, and I was like, "What's going on in that circle?" And I just saw some kids. I mean, now they weren't breakdancing, but I thought they were dancing. And then I went home and I started practicing what I saw, and I saw those kids at school, and they asked me if I danced, because I already kind of had the attire, like the dress, even though I wasn't a b-boy, but I already dressed kind of like a b-boy, so they thought I'd breakdance. So I said, yeah, I breakdance. They're like, all right, Friday, you're gonna meet us at where the buses are. And I'm like, oh man. So I had to go home and practice that whole week and battle them in front of the whole school. And then, you meet other b-boys along the way, and you learn a windmill, and then now because you got the windmill, you got a little more juice than everybody, because nobody's at that level yet. So I was like the first one at school to have the windmill. And then, we're going from house party to jams, to pro-ams, roast the most, all that. And that's kind of how I started breaking.
And where was this? Where'd you experience this?
I grew up in Hollywood, Florida. So that's where I saw it first. And then from there, just going to the clubs, like a gang. I went to when I first started breaking, I went to a Gangstar group home concert. And as soon as I was breaking, that's when other b-boys would come out, and you would meet and get roasted and get smoked by another b-boy. And that's kind of like how I got in. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to practice more. And then just kept going.
It's incredible to hear you say 97 and you're talking 76 or something. It's a 20-year difference, and the dance form is still going.
Indeed.
And I think in between that is you, Chillski. Can you tell us a little bit about when you first encountered this?
You want the long version or the short version?
Medium.
All right, so originally I'm from Havana, Cuba, and I didn't get to the States until 1980 with the Marielitos. And in Cuba, we weren't, the American stuff was not permitted or whatever, so we had to rig the radios to try and listen to American music or English music or what have you. So I'm gonna sound like an idiot, but I wasn't into Latin music. I was into whatever was in those rigged radios, whether it was Bonnie M, whether it was ABBA, it was all that disco stuff that I was listening to. So when we got to the States, my cousin, which a lot of you guys might know, Dash, his mom claimed us from Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. We got here in the Maria boat lift. They processed us. They took us to Arkansas. We was right there for it feels like we were there for at least a month until our family finally found out that we was out here. And they claimed us, and we came to Miami. And soon after that, Dash moved back to New York. So during the summers and the winter breaks in school, we used to go to New York to visit the family. And it was during those trips that I first saw in, I think it was in 42nd Street, I saw some kids doing something that I thought it was Kung Fu, honestly. I didn't know it was a dance. I couldn't care for dancing. At the time, I was 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? So ever since I've been a shorty, I've been a huge samurai and Kung Fu movie fanatic. And then all of a sudden I see these kids doing this, and I thought that it was Kung Fu. All of a sudden, around 1981 or 82, a song comes out that made me who I am to this very day. And it was Planet Rock by Bambaataa and Soul Sonic. I had heard rap music prior to that. I heard Rap is Delight like everybody else. I heard certain songs that, I don't know if they considered hip hop, but like Frankie Smith, Double Dutch Bus, stuff like that. I heard them. I liked them, but it wasn't my thing. I was into heavy metal. I was into whatever pop music was out there, Billy Idol, whatever. But then all of a sudden this song comes out, and I never cared for dancing until that song came out. And it made me feel like doing stuff that it's like a santo. came inside my body, and I wanted to move. And all of a sudden, I see these two kids that were down with me, Louis and George, one day after school, and they're doing the same kung fu moves that I had seen in New York. I had seen them doing it in the basketball court. So I went up there, and when I see them dance, they're dancing to that song, to Planet Rock. And hence,
That was it.
yeah, that was it. So I asked them, to teach me this. They wouldn't teach me. They thought that they were, the shit. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to get y'all, you know what I mean? And then that competitive side got me, and I started trying, getting in front of my mirror and practicing every day, whether it was popping, or doing the mime, really. Because at the time, the only thing that I had seen was like little specks that I had seen in Soul Train. And there's a video also by Ross Stewart called Young Turks. And at the end of the video, there's a dude like kind of like
That's
popping.
Sugar Pop.
Yep.
That was Sugar Pop.
And so that's what first got me into my popping. And a little bit later, fast forward maybe a year later, when I got into junior high, that's when I felt like I was like in the big leagues, because now I saw that there was actually guys that were really advanced, which was, some of them was this kid named Jackie, Pinocchio, and they turned out being the Miami City Breakers. Obviously, taking it from New York City Breakers, but that's who truly like inspired me. And then, obviously, by that time already, Flashdance had came out. I saw my original first popping hero, which was Norski, and everything else that followed. But that's how I got involved in it, thanks to Planet Rock. That's what made it.
Set it off.
So I'm curious, how many people in the audience know the record Planet Rock? Okay, everybody, pretty much. If you don't know, you need to know the record. It's an incredible record, right? You know the record, right? And so I want to go back to Doze. Doze, in what you were telling me or telling us before about those early recollections, you mentioned a couple of dancers. You mentioned Ken Swift, a couple of friends. Who were some of those people that really had an impact on you as far as dancing goes?
Well, being a peewee and not being able to go out to the clubs, we would do. My heroes were like from 14 to 16-year-olds at the time. I was like 11 or 12, but we used to go to these Catholic school jams. And there would usually be all girls Catholic school, so we knew there were going to be girls there, and they would open the doors to for the neighborhood to come in and whatnot. And so for me, it was the guys who were like in gangs, they were like leaving the gang scene, but they were like, there was crews, the Manhattan Brothers. There was like this kid Sherlock and the Douglas housing crews. They were like more like Choco, rest in peace. Sherlock. These are guys that were rockers, and they were top rockers, So they were my initial heroes in it. But when I saw Rubber Band, Drago, Track, when I saw these cats, and the Twins, like that's when I was like, okay, this is real. Like it was a lot of fun, and it was games in the Catholic school jams when it was safe. And me and Kenny were b-boying in high heel Saturday Night Fever shoes. It's a true story, because we'd go there to dance Latin hustle. You got to rock your 6-inch joints, But so imagine that. But when it got down to the park jams, Spy, Drago, Track, Rubber Band, like Ron Darris, the Twins, those guys. Even Sundance, who's a big guy, but used to floor work. You know what I'm saying? DXT was a b-boy as well. So we used to see these cats, and then I knew that it was a real, viable, tangible, and dangerous thing. It changed my life. Those were my heroes. Those were my heroes initially. And they were like gangster. You know, it wasn't like, you know, when you're a kid, 11, 12 years old, you're doing it for fun. But you see, it's a serious thing. It's not like battles were real. Like, you know, this is right after the gang wars, you know. So it's still kind of it's a little edgy in those park jams, you know, and as a little dude, you're in a circle, and you don't even think about going in a circle unless it's like stepping into a cipher with the gods, like the 5%ers. If you don't know mathematics, you know, you're going to get pooted out. With the same applied. So we were the little guys making little tiny circles, like, what are you doing now? Yo, he did a bridge, back bend, and then he did like froze on his head. We're like trying it in the corners, you know? So that's how we kind of crept our way in to the circle that way, you know, had to crawl our way in, but that's once we had our routines, we were accepted, you know.
What years are you talking about there?
All right, so like 77, me and Kenny were partners. Frosty Freeze and me were initially partners because we were the comedy relief of the crew. So like every crew has a joker, a jester. Every crew has like an idiot, you know. So I was the clown, Doze D, the clown, you know. So and Frosty Freeze was like the king of clowns, you know, the king. But you know that's how I segued into the crew. Like. At that point, 77, we were still young city boys, and that was me, Ken Swift, Baby Love's brother, Andy, Blue Eyed Stevie, Chicky Thing, who was on the wall, and a few, and Kippy D. We were all like, and Woody, from that picture, Woody. He's tagging up.
Yeah, the black and white photo
and this
there.
kid named Spike, yeah. So that was us, and we were like we were just getting acknowledged as a Pee-wee crew. But then that's when Frosty said, "Yo, you guys are good enough to get in a circle now. We're gonna talk to Rockwell Association, which was Crazy Legs, the Bronx Boys. We're like, the Bronx Boys? Yo, what? Because they were like legacy. You know, you getting down with the Bronx Boys. But we're too young. They said, no, we're going to do Rockwell Association. It's like for the Pee-wees. And then the Rockwell Association turned into Rock Steady. Because we didn't like it. Well, it was like, that sounds whack. We rock steady. And the thing about it is that when I don't know if this is true, but I heard Legs heard Rock Steady by Aretha Franklin. And that just, whenever we heard that, we just go bananas, you know, in the park jam. And that was our song. So we're like, there we go. That's us, you know. Yeah,
so some of the thank you for sharing that. So some old history. So some of the people that you mentioned are in those photos, and so Woody is taking a tag there. It's a black and white photo in the center of that wall, and then at the extreme right of that gray wall, you can see Frosty Freeze with the afro and the smirk, and Take One, and Baby Love. And so there, and then in the bottom as well, right, almost underneath that photo, there's the crew. I guess that might have been up by Dykeman. Yeah, that's up by Dykeman. Right. So you're experiencing all these things as a Pee-wee, and you know what I'm hearing is this history, your personal history, but also in breaking sort of the formation of these crews that would have a long-lasting impact until today in the world of breaking, because some of these crews still exist. It's not that, and these dancers, some of them still dance, that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, the ones who are still dancing, the one who's a prolific dancer, b-boy in every sense of the word is Mr. Wiggles. I mean, hands down, the guy is like, he didn't stop. He's still doing jackets, he spins, he does his own music, he pop locks, he b-boys. I mean, the boy, he does graph. I mean, he does it all. And I mean, Ken Swift is healing up his tendons right now. He's had an injury, but he's curating. Like he's doing school. Like he's doing b-boy. What do you call them? Workshops and courses. Legs is kind of retired, I think. Yeah, and I think there's still cats like Poe. Poe is still getting down. Chillski is still getting down. You know, I mean, we have some cats that are still brave enough to do it. I don't even try it anymore, but I give it to them.
So, and for you, Chillski, you know, he mentioned some of these dancers that have had challenges. You know, for you as a dancer, you got into it. What was it like here in Miami versus in New York? Was it the same kind of environment as in New York?
I think so, because I mean, we lived for this. I mean, and the battle was like the main thing for us. It was two things: battling, competing against another man, burning them. And why we did that? Mainly because of the girls. That was our rap. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to impress. I was a shy kid. I didn't have no rap, so my rap was trying to look fresh on the dance floor. And there was that little timeline between 82 to like 85 where we literally lived for this. And you could tell who was who just by the way that we dressed. You know what I'm saying? And it was like we were fanatics. Like we were fanatics. We were our own fashion designers. We stood hours like just trying to put combinations of clothing together, putting the laces together to match your Lees, the BVDs or perros that we used to rock right here in Miami. It was fanatic, basically. You know what I mean? Like, to this very day, like, you know, I get people that look at me and they're like, "Hey, you still doing that shit?" And it's like, yeah, I mean, I never grew up. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up. Yeah, but I'm like 200 pounds heavier than what I used to be back then. But yeah, like I'm still that little kid. I mean, still, whenever I hear in a club, whenever I hear Planet Rock or, you know, Out on the Fish or The Mexican or Give It Up, Turn It Loose or Apache, you know, like something comes inside of me that, you know, I just have to do it because I'm still caught up in that little time capsule that, you know, brings me back to such a great time in my life, you know. So I think that anybody who really loved this like we do can't help themselves but to like come back to it, you know.
When are you gonna go dancing again?
in a few hours.
So where is the party? Where are you going?
I'm going to the 94th Squadron at close to the airport, and they're having the Club 1235 reunion, which is all the old school heads unite right there, and it's a fun night of disco, freestyle, and electro funk and old school hip hop. And so yeah, everything. Huh? Nah, I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance.
So Louis, what was it for you? You know, Chillski mentioned, you know, being shy and really the dance floor giving him this new persona. What was it for you that really attracted you to wanting to dance?
Well, it was the cipher. Like when I first saw those kids dancing, I just like, what's going on over there? And I saw like a circle, and you know, I guess the heaviness of that energy is what, you know, captivated me, and that's kind of what I wanted to keep. Like that's what inspired me to just keep dancing more and more. Is like just that cipher. And so, you know, that's what I would practice is like go home and just, it's kind of like graph. You practice your hand style. Well, your hand style is your top rock. You know, the way you dance on top, and then, you know, the transitions like corkscrew and things of that nature. You know, you practice what moves you know, or what you see on videos, or your boy shows you something, or maybe you might see somebody from around the way, and you're like, you bite that. Because in the beginning, you kind of bite to learn. So that's what captivated me, and that's what inspired me when I saw other B-boys. And you get smoked, and then you go back to the drawing board. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to practice, and next time, when I go to this club or when I go to this party. Because, back in the 90s, there wasn't that many jams to go to like there is now. So you would go to like a party or a club, and even though I was like 15, I'd go to clubs, and I would see, other B-boys from like Street Masters, Flipside Kings, other local B-boys from Broward, which were like Universal Souls, and, they would smoke you, and then you're like, all right, you know what, I'm going to go home and practice and go back. And then when you see them, you call them out, and then your moves are a little more dynamic, and, you just keep pushing up the bar.
For us that were fanatics like me, it was like living out a real-life kung fu movie. You know what I'm saying? You go into the opposite schools, dojo or kun or whatever, and you're challenging what the masters and the students and what have you. So, me being a freaking kung fu movie Bruce Lee fanatic, that's what it was like for me. Like, I will walk into whatever cipher, and whoever the dude was out there, it's time for me to test my skills. You know what I'm saying? And for a lot of us, that's the way it was. And specifically with the rock. You know what I mean? The rock was like the dance, where short of fighting, it was like the closest thing.
But that's how we started the routines too. Oh, sorry. That's how we started doing routines, is from movies like Five Deadly Venoms and Seven Grandmasters. When they would have like their crew against another crew, they would do like, how deep is the ocean? And they drop on the floor both at the same time and shuffle like they're swimming across the floor. How high is the mountain? They come up and they get on each other's shoulders, like we took all that, we just applied it in the circle, and that's when it got real dynamic, because they're like, oh, that's they have a secret weapon now. This is a secret battle move, and like, you go like, crew, get in formation. And then you act normal, and then you're like, now, and oh, shit, now we gotta burn them now, It was just that, like he's saying, it was a big. Kung Fu had a huge role to play in b-boying.
So,
absolutely,
the choreography of Kung Fu moves,
absolutely,
right? Incorporating.
We
that.
practiced the movies in the park at night. We play the roles over, like. We do the choreography.
And it's crazy because it's absorbing. It's trying to remember what you saw on film, because we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have none of that. We had none of that. I mean, back in those days, a VCR tape or Betamax tape easily was $85. You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't just buy them. Some of us got lucky because, like, for example, here in Miami, in Channel 33, 7 p.m. Sundays, we used to have Samurai Theater. Mm-hmm. So on every Sunday at 7 p.m., I was like this, getting ready to record, and then that's how I learned how to use the nunchucks, by watching specifically Game of Death. I will put it like frame by frame, trying to learn every move that Bruce did with his nunchucks. And watching Mad Monkey Kung Fu, with the Shaw Brothers, we had routines.
Mad Monkey, hell yeah.
We had routines based on the master and the student doing a little routine that they did. So it's crazy how much influence that particular film industry had on us.
And on a Saturday, that was our house. We say 40 Doo-Wop was our crib, straight up. We go from like 12 noon to like 8 at night. We'd see like 4 or 5 movies back to back.
Right, the double features.
You bring your bucket of chicken in, your morta, whatever else you're gonna do in there, and just kick back. We in the front row like, yo, we gotta do that. We gotta do that. Take notes, yo.
So with all these fighting moves that you're learning, how many times or how often did the ciphers and the battles that you're mentioning turn into fights? Like how much violence translated into the dance?
It didn't actually happen in the cipher, because that was just like, you don't do that. That's kind of a rule. I mean, it got heated, and then it was just kind of like, You know, like
So around the corner.
Yeah, around the corner. You know, and then the crews would like disperse and go around the corner and throw haymakers at each other. But that's how that. But that didn't happen often. It happened. You know what? Really, a lot of the fights happened when we would go to Rocksteady was trying to take over New York at one point, and that's when the floor masters they got better because we tore them up in the grill, and then wherever we went, we just destroyed. We left a trail of just disaster. There's body parts everywhere, and so like we go to neighborhoods, and it was cool. We take them out, but then it was about the girls more or less. To be honest, it was like you go into a neighborhood, the girls be like, "Ooh, who are these guys? They're from another neighborhood," and then it would be like, "That's my girlfriend," you know. It would be kind of that would be the beef. We'd be running home to catch the A train from Lower East Side, you know. CBS crew would be chasing us, or it was just beef like that. But it essentially the rules was like rules of the game. You take them out, you take it like a man. You come back to see for another day. Go practice. And when you come back,
right, be better at it.
Be better. That's it.
And sometimes the beef would also come from not the B-boys themselves, but our boys in the back.
Yeah.
Like the hard rocks that were like your self-assigned bodyguards.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like those were really like the sticker kids. You know what I mean? Like they really was housing everybody. You know what I mean? And looking at who's dressed fresh. And before you know it, somebody's getting wrecked. But they would say that they were like protecting us, but they really wanted to rob somebody. You know what I mean?
It's an excuse to wreck the buffet, so to speak. Because I'll give an example: the famous Dynamic Rockers versus Rocksteady Lincoln Center Jam thing. That was mayhem. All right, it went down. Everybody knew Rocksteady won. But yeah, we had cats in our crew like Wancho Burger, rest in peace. One Punch Fred. We had cats that were like loco, that were just out there, that wanted to vic somebody. So yeah, we're walking down the street, and then they're starting to rob these cats in Woody Allenville, in the middle of Manhattan. And I'm like, you can't be robbing these rich white folks, Like they're like, fuck that shit, we coming up. And I'm just like, okay, all right. We get in the train, and then it went from the streets into the subway, onto the train where imagine 150 kids, 200 kids running through, just snatching chains and pulling the emergency brake and running out of the train. It was that. So it was like not necessarily the B-boys, but like he said, the hard rocks, the Porter rocks, the B-boys.
Right, because it was everybody.
It was the whole neighborhood,
So I want to, move forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And just, out of curiosity for the three of you, you mentioned the cipher and the reasons to be there and the power of that moment in dance.
Yeah.
Do each of you have a favorite moment or a favorite personal battle that you could recall in a cipher that whether you won or you lost or whatever, but it was defining for you in some way?
Well, I have two. One happened when I was a kid that I was able to get my revenge against this dude that actually took me out when I first was starting, and about two years later, I actually bumped into him in this club called the B Club, which was our smaller version of the Roxy. And I bumped into this dude, and I burned the shit out of him. But one of my very, very favorite moments happened in the resurgence of the dance. I would say 2010, 2011, my crew, Deadly Venoms, I had just basically found two of my personal heroes when it comes down to popping, which is my man Reversal, which is, to me, bar none, the greatest popper of all time that I've ever seen in my life. That if you guys would have seen that guy back then, I'm sorry, shrimp, even rest in peace, Taco. they ain't had nothing on him. This dude is from California, from Cartagena, and the best that I've ever seen. Him and my man E.T. from the Miami City Breakers.
Wait, E.T.?
E.T. Pop from the Miami City Breakers, and Reversal was from the Street Masters. So I was able to connect with my two heroes, bring them back to dance with us, and my man Seto back there. So it was fabulous, right, Seto? It was E.T., Reversal, you, myself. No, but I'm not talking about our history. I'm talking about our battle. And actually it was five. So we ended up battling this younger crew that thought that they were like the shit. And we walked into that jam and it literally felt like Beach Street, like the infamous freaking scene. And, you know, they were there, they were doing their thing. And here comes the old guys. We walked in, we were all dressed in black. And we walked in like it was freaking gunfire, OK Corral. Got in front of them and put an ass whipping on them. And it felt freaking great because it was like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, hey, guys, you're good, but you still got there's levels to learn. And then they try to cheat. They threw us a female. And ladies, I mean, the girls that they threw was pretty good. But automatically, just because she was a girl, it was like they were like, ah! The crowd was going crazy. But little did they know that Reversal's sister was right next to us. And she's Reversal with a wig, basically. And so she burned the hell out of them. And so, you know, so it was one of the greatest moments of my life because I actually, not only was I dancing with one of my partners right there, my brother, but I got my heroes. I was dancing right next to those two guys, which I used to look at those guys like gods, you know what I'm saying? Like the same way that I look at this dude when it comes down to rocking and b-boy characters, that's how I look at those guys in popping. So it was one of the greatest honors that I've ever had in my life.
And what about for you, Louie, for you, Doze?
For me, it was at a concert, and it was a local dude named War. He's I guess from Street Masters, and this was my first time kind of like putting my moves to the test. I was practicing for like 6 months, you know, and then I went out to dance, and he was out there, and he just, you know, sizzled me. So that kind of like pushed me to go home and like, you know, the moves that I saw him do, which were like they're called airplanes, where you do windmills but with your arms out. So I was like, you know what, I need to get those. And everything he was doing, I was like, I went home to train and practice to get those moves. And so he kind of really pushed me, even though I was just a toy. But there I just went home and I'm like, all right, I need to work on my windmill. I got to put my head down and, you know, try to work on what's called magnets. And, you know, that's how I kind of like, that's what pushed me to keep going and to like continue the breaking, I guess. Yeah, so War, thank you.
Congratulations. Well, for me, I don't know, man. We've had so many battles throughout the years, and I mean, like the Roxy days were like battle zone every week. We would battle Furious Rockers, Hot Feet Rockers. I mean, all over the city, we battle every crew almost. So I can't really pinpoint one. I could say Dynamic was a big one. Floor Masters versus Rocksteady at the Grill. That was incredible battle. Even though they weren't as good as us, the tenacity and their will to survive, they really worked hard on that one, and we were like, yo, kudos to them for that. I mean, the Zulu anniversary is probably the pinnacle of nights that I will always remember. It's the famous footage you see when everybody gets together, when Bam puts everybody, Red Alert, everyone's there, Jazzy J, everybody comes together, different crews from all the cities. When we formed Zulu Nation as chapters, so like the chant was like, what's the name of this nation? Zulu, who's gonna get on down? Bam Bata. But it was like this moment where we were battling each other, but it was like we were like helping each other out. Like, yo, man, you should do this move. It was the most beautiful, cohesive moment, I think, that showed the strength of a culture, the strength of what people can do when they get together, the power of creativity and the energy that saturated that Bronx River, community center was explosive. And I will never, ever forget those moments of that, like in hip hop. That would probably be the pinnacle.
There's a photo from that day from Joe Conzo on the wall. If anybody sees it, but on the red side, you can't see it from here, but we have a photo. It's Jazzy J DJing. Red Alert is next to him, and that's at that Zulu anniversary that you're mentioning. So, and so I'm going to derail a little bit, but how important do you believe, or any of you believe, Zulu Nation was in those days, or to push breaking and hip hop culture forward?
If it wasn't for the nation, I don't think we would have what we have today, honestly. Straight up. I mean, if it wasn't for the nation, I don't think we'd have what we call hip hop today, period. I think it might be something different. I mean, what happened with the nation, and there were many different nations, Blood Brother Nation, the 5% Nation, all these different nations, but the Zulu Nation said, okay, you can be all that and do all that too, but come together. Let's have a meeting of the minds. Let's make a force to be reckoned with. Like, it was like the Warriors, like it really was. And our chapters were cohesive in that we did stuff for the community, we looked out for each other, and we helped to expand the creativity. Like Planet Rock, before Planet Rock, it was just like, like you said, it was like King Tin the Third, Rapper's Delight. There was there was dope hip hop records, Treacherous 3, Fearless 4, all that dope shit. But it was that defining moment, Planet Rock, that brought everybody together to make it a force, tour de force. It was like, okay, now because in the videos, you'd have Brim doing a 2001 monolith saying, Planet Rock or whatever it said on the videos. And it was like this is the new age. It was like a combination of like punk rock, underground street stuff, graffiti. It was just that culmination of everything that made it fit. Because it wasn't only, Zulu Nation was also like, had graffiti artists, had DJs, everything in it. So that's what helped create the fashion even. The fashion, like he was saying, like he's wearing it. Like we used to paint our clothes. We didn't go get, now you can buy an outfit and say, I'm this. You can look like this, but then you made your stuff. You designed your own your fit, and that's what the nation helped propel hip hop into a world-class status. It also because of, and here we're talking about the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. Yeah, Woody Wood in the house. Wood Rocksteady in the so that's what I'm saying. Like, and you know what? He's got to say a few words about it because he is an original Young City Boy member. He's on he's on your wall, and we were just. What do you think about hip hop, man? Say something.
Hip hop just elevated a different way these days, but being part of Young City Boys, Muggsy Nation, Rocksteady, we did different things, man. And now we just realize and recognize that this was the real thing, and we made it to this far. So it's just a blessing. So I'm glad to be here. Doze TC5, Cat, thank you for having me on your wall. And any questions that anybody has, just let me know. I'm there.
So we're running out of time, and I want us to have time to connect and talk, and you guys could meet one-on-one with everybody. We could mingle. Breaking is in the Olympics this year. We went from the 70s to breaking in Paris this year.
Yeah, but that's a mixed blessing. And
but tell me, speak on it.
I talked to a few, new generation cats came in. They're on the team, and they came to the wall. And I was telling, how do you feel about it? They're like, yo, we feel cool about it, but we also feel like we're kind of betraying the culture. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. But like, the only reason it gets a little vague here is because the judges are not B-boys. They're coming from a gymnastics background. We're gonna have, you know, I'm like, and how can you judge something by which you don't know anything
right? You don't even
about?
know.
So that's what I'm saying. And also, like, I hope that it doesn't lose. See, like in the scoring process, I don't know. Like, is there a style factor? Is it all based on power moves, or just like flow, or like routine, or like you need like style?
So let's talk about that. How would you define style if you were to define it in breaking? Because we've talked about the moves, right? But we haven't talked about the definition of style, or how does a b-boy or b-girl acquire style?
It's your DNA imprint. It's your DNA imprint on something that exists. It's your signature. Like everybody will remember a Frosty Freeze move. His signature. It's his style. Everyone knows Ken Swift's style. His signature. Like there's 1,000,001 b-boys that look the same, doing the same power moves, but if they don't have the finesse, it's like it becomes sterile. It becomes homogenized, and then it loses its capacity to like keep evolution going. I mean, there'll be evolution physically, but will it capture you? Will it draw you into it? Like is there something about seeing a soulful dancer than a robot? That's it. That's all I got to say.
Took the word right out of my mouth. There's a lot of dudes that are incredibly powerful, but they're robotic in their execution. Like whenever I think of a b-boy, I think of Kenny. I think of Chino.
Yeah. Josh. Yep.
I think of Brian. Yeah. I think of those dudes that just came in and they already won before they even hit the floor, because the character that they had, my man Doze, when he came out with the Muggsy, you know what I mean? Like we wanted to.
Let's straighten this out, though. First,
we wanted to be those characters.
No.
We wanted to be those characters. I'm gonna tell you right now.
I'm probably the weakest b-boy in Rocksteady, and I'm being honest with you. And that's okay. That's okay.
But his
what
rocking,
I was there for.
I
was there to make fools laugh, and that's all.
But that's part of it. That's part of it.
And I go get a beer. I'll be like, later, y'all.
That's part of it, because you got to be an entertainer. We're entertaining the crowd. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to be boring out there. You have to have character. You know what I'm saying? And then when I think of those, I think of him with his aggressive up rock. You know what I'm saying? And his Muggsies and his trickery. You know what I'm saying? His trickery. That's what. It's funny because when I think of those, to me, I always tell Dash, yo, your father. You know what I'm saying? Because those is like the elder Dash. You know what I'm saying? Like they're both tricksters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't want to punch everybody in the face.
Well, that's a different story. But it's like there's something about that when you come in that you feel when one is just a master at his craft. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of us that have done it, but only a few like really like stand out. I don't know of the, like the new generation. I don't know too many names because there's so many. You know what I'm saying? But like for example, like Josh right there, one of the dopest b-boys from the new generation right here, sitting right there. Straight up. His uncles are like the epitome of badness. I think of Troll from the Street Masters from Miami. You know what I'm saying? I think of those guys and I'm like, yo, like that generation caught it. You know what I mean? And then, from our generation, I mean, I could go on, but it's just something about it. And then with the Olympics, it's just like Doze said, it's like, what is it that these people are going to look at? Because it's not only that the judges are gymnastics, I believe that they're in ballroom or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that is like, I'm very happy because it started from nothing and now we're in Paris. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the world to see. But at the same time, I would say we don't need the Olympics, because if you love this, you're gonna do it with an audience or by yourself in front of your mirror. You know what I'm saying? Simple as that. I dance because I love it, because it fulfills me. It's just this thing that comes into my heart whenever I'm dancing, that I could care less if there's people around me saying, yo, look at that old ass dude, you know, dancing. I don't care. In my mind, I'm 15 years old. I'll feel it the next day. I'm like, shit. But I feel like I'm that little kid, you know what I'm saying? And that's when you love something, you know what I mean?
Thank you, Chillski. Give it up to all these guys, please. Doze, Louiedeology, Chillski, thank you so much for your time, for your insight, for taking us down memory lane, and really for sharing your love for this, right? I mean, we love it, you guys love it, so thank you for all of you for being with us today and sharing this moment. So we are in the art of hip hop. We're here to hang out for a little bit. Join us, meet these incredible young men, have a drink with us, and chill for a bit. And we have, by the way, a couple of things that I want to promote. So Doze's wall across the street, that's brand new. We released a poster, signed poster, which is here for all of you who have space on your walls and want something really dope and by Doze. We have that. We have a version of this on a t-shirt that's also very limited. These you could only find here. They don't exist anywhere in the world. They only exist here. The posters are signed, $50 posters. The t-shirts, I have no idea how much they are. They're $40. They're super fresh. That's it. It's a champion shirt. It's got a hit on the sleeve that says Doze Green, and it's got four of his friends on the shirt. So I see Ken Swift, I see Juice TC5, I see Outlaw, and the fourth character, I don't remember who it is. Tribili maybe? And the poster here has a fifth, which is Doze. What's question for you, Doze? The B girl here, what's her name? Spanky. So we have those. That's special for tonight. And if you haven't caught the Wide World Graffiti book, shameless plug for me. This is my newest book. We have it here at the museum, and pick them up. There's a great interview with Doze in it as well. Thank you guys very much. Enjoy, and thank you for coming out.